Now, with more on the unrest in the Middle East and more, the Senate passed it with major bipartisan support, that aid package to Ukraine, Israel, and other world hotspots. Let's talk about that and more with our friend, retired Navy captain and foreign affairs analyst Armen Kurdian, up late with me on the Final Five. I looked at Armen, I have to say, as we were getting out of that last segment, I looked up and I said, I wonder what the hell Armen thinks he got himself into tonight after following up with that George Santos bit.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need about a couple of years of therapy watching that one, I tell you.
Hey, I'm glad you're here tonight because I want to get your take on, there's been a lot said about the U.S. getting involved, $95 billion in foreign aid. And for a long time, a lot of people said, is it time for the U.S. to step down as being the world's policeman right now? But there are many conservatives who say this money should be better spent elsewhere. Is this money being well spent?
So there are very serious national security concerns which are being addressed by this money. Now, I do have an issue, and I think we need to look much more closely going forward about direct transfer payments or foreign aid that's basically a direct payment to a country. But more than half of the money, for example, in the Ukraine bill, is going to basically replenish a lot of the weapons we've already given to Ukraine. You can make the argument if you wanted that maybe we shouldn't have done it in the first place, but I would say it is vital to continue to supply Ukraine with these weapons. Russia is making advances despite the tenacity of the Ukrainian soldier, simply because they're running out of ammunition. Right now, Russia can outshoot the Ukraine about 10 to 1. Ukraine needs the Army ATACMS missiles. The missiles we're sending them, I don't know that they're necessarily our most capable or our latest version, but they're great enough for what Ukraine actually needs them for. They need just artillery simply to slow down or pin down Russian forces. Aircraft, more Patriot missiles. The Ukrainian soldier has proven very capable on the battlefield, and Russia still has maintained or taken about, depending on who you ask, 350 to 400,000 casualties. So it's very vital there. And then on the Israel side, there's a big portion of that going to humanitarian aid for the Palestinians, which is probably the cost of doing business, if you will. But the Iron Dome needs replenishment, more Tamir missiles, which cost about $50,000 a piece. And frankly, if Hezbollah launches from the north, then Israel's going to have its hands full. And of course, at that point, the United States may have to get himself involved. But hopefully through strength, we can deter that from happening.
Yeah, that's something that Speaker Johnson had said. It was important to get involved, he believed, financially, because otherwise it would be boots on the ground. It would be Americans going over there. And 2 years ago, when we got into, or when we saw Russia invade Ukraine, that was a major concern. Would we get to that point? Are you surprised 2 years that I think, fortunately for the U.S., we've not had to cross that Rubicon?
I think we are fortunate. It is in U.S. national interest to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine, simply because this is not really about Ukraine. This is about Russia. Our allies, especially the former Warsaw Pact allies, Poland, the Slovaks, the Romanians, they're all looking at us, say, what are we going to do? The Finns are right there on the Russian border. They've had a history of animosity going all the way back to the Second World War against Russia. So, like it or not, the United States is the world's preeminent superpower still, at least today it is. So how we behave and how we act is going to say a lot. If we don't respond and hold the line firm against this Russian aggression, then a lot of these countries that are maybe on the fence, they're going to start looking at more consistent allies. They could be looking for a rapprochement with Russia or perhaps China. And we simply can't have it because it's in our economic, national security, cybersecurity interests to maintain security along that eastern front against Russia. So I think we're doing the right thing in that sense.
Armen, what we're seeing right now as we look at Gaza, Israel, Palestine, is you have a lot of Americans who are angry at the U.S. for supporting Israel, one of our staunchest allies, which we're seeing playing out right now on college campuses across the country. There are a lot of people saying that they're innocent Palestinians that are being killed, which is happening right now too. Tensions, not just in the Middle East, but here in the U.S., are so high. It's tough to have conversations like this. And as somebody who's served, as you see this, is there a way that we can have civil conversations even though we may have disagreements?
You know, Jim, you've hit a very important point that I think it's critical for viewers to understand as to why we're happening. Why would somebody say, I'm with Hamas, this is who I am? Why would they do that? And I think it's because with the continued advancement of progressive education to the public school system and now in many of our universities, we're not teaching or instilling the ability to think critically, to not just accept information that is being thrown down our throats. So without the ability to process and understand what it is you're being told, many of our youth are simply accepting what they're hearing hook, line, and sinker and become very susceptible to suggestion, or susceptible to indoctrination, or susceptible to a small group of highly influential, highly intelligent individuals who then subsume and perhaps bring over to the other side, if you will, younger or less educated or more easily susceptible individuals to that line of thinking. And then you have what you see on the streets today. Some people say this is a redux of the BLM Antifa riots we saw a few years ago. Only now it's much more serious because literally have people saying, I'm with a terrorist group overseas. And we just can't have that in our civil society.
No, and again, it's not as black and white. We have to have these conversations. You and I could keep talking about this, but I have to leave it at that. Armen, great to see you again. Thank you for sticking around with us tonight.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great evening.
Final Five is back after this.